Everybody, welcome to Rich in Conversation with me, Lewis. And today I'm joined by the incredibly talented, lovely, wonderful, smart, wise, insightful, intuitive, one of the most gorgeous human beings I know. Shari is a mindset coach of mine. And I live for our sessions. They always help steer and guide and direct me in the most helpful and meaningful of ways. So I'm not going to do a proper intro, although that was actually not too bad.
I wake up at 6:30 every morning to get a welcome like that. Good morning, Lewis. I feel the same way about you.
Oh, that's very nice. This is Shari. So Shari, just share with the group who you are, what you're about, what you do.
So I am a performance coach and a creative strategist, and I help people unleash their inner maverick. So for me, it's about finding your own beat in what you do, whether it's in your life, in your business, and helping you not just be in alignment with what you do, but actually have a lot of fun and feel purposeful and feel like you're making a difference in the world, even in small or big ways. Not everyone wants to have an impact. Not everyone is extroverted like me and Lewis, who can just stand on stage and yap at people. But it's really about finding your edge. So where your quirks are, where the skills that you have are, where they intersect, instead of hiding parts of ourselves so that we fit in places, it's bringing all of our parts together and really making success and happiness be ours, not a version of somebody else's.
I love that, because I think, especially in sessions that we've had, I think my goalpost for myself shifts so often, and trying to define and find that and not feeling like you conform into a particular mold and all of those sorts of things. But this isn't a session for me.
Yeah, it can be. It's fine. I'm sure everyone.
We'll just invite everyone into the weird.
Come on in, snuggle up around the fire.
Well, I'd love that right now. That'd be brilliant. Although no more wine. I've had enough wine to last quite a while now. So how did you get into this kind of work? Have you always been doing this kind of thing?
No, I was not. I was an artist for years. I was 25 years makeup artist. I did mosaic art, custom pieces. I was a mom of 2 kids in a traditional environment. I have a religious background as well. So, we have that in common. And I lived a perfect little Stepford life, which I'm tiny, but very big energetically. And it just didn't fit me. There's no rags to riches story. I was in the wrong marriage, wrong situation. And it took about 4 years to get divorced. So I'm left at 33 with 2 little amazing kids. And I knew everything that I didn't want. And I had no idea what I wanted. And it was a very scary time in my life, because I've always been the center of the party and making people feel great and doing nice things for people and very helpful and listening to everyone. But I hadn't connected the dots. I was living a life for everyone else instead of myself. So that's why this work means so much to me. So I went on a deep dive, because I don't do things halfway. I did a year-long coach training and a year-long yoga teacher training, because I had hired a coach. I was like, I know I don't want to go to a therapist. I know what happened. I know it was hard to get out of that situation, and I felt very lucky to be safe and whole. I just can't see forward. So I fell in love with the industry, fell down the rabbit hole of personal development. I'm like, oh, there are people who think like I do. I had no idea. So I really explored, and it was terrifying, because, it sounds like a nice, pretty story now, but I've got these 2 young kids, a very aggressive ex-husband, and everyone thought I was nuts. Why would I leave a perfect life with a big house, my bills paid for, a side job because I loved it, not because I had to. I left a 7-bedroom house with 2 bags, 2 kids, and 1 mattress. And I was like, this is not a life for me. And it was dangerous, and it was scary and crazy, and it was the best thing I ever did. So 12 years ago, so that was 16 years ago, 12 years ago, I opened my business. I'm based right outside New York City. And after my training, they taught us what to put on our social media, the photo shoots. I look like a perfect little cake, like little doll on top of a cake, snowy angel. I have to show you the pictures, you'll die. And weirdly, no one was buying from me. I don't know what was wrong. And I said, oh my God, I did it again. I recreated the Stepford Life again, but in my business. And I said, oh no, I'm not living like this. It's not who I am. I just keep falling into this pattern of success looks like this. Happiness looks like this. Motherhood looks like this. So I stripped everything back, and the Maverick was born. I said, I'm either doing this my way or I'm not doing it. And it hasn't stopped since for 12 years. So that's why this unleashing means so much to me, because I know what people have inside of them and they don't. So if someone doesn't see our potential, many times we don't see it ourselves. So people always say they like to borrow my self-belief until we get them to have their own, and then off they go, whether it's the business success, the scaling of a team, learning leadership, having a better partnership. And, Lewis, I don't believe that life and business are separate. So how we are in one is how we are in the other. And most of us don't know how we are in either. So we got to start somewhere.
Yeah, completely. By the way, everybody, remember you can ask questions as we go through. We love a bit of interaction, so feel free to throw any questions you have for Shari into the chat. Hearing what you've just shared there, Shari, I feel like really a lot of what you've done for me and you do for other people is you're kind of giving them permission to be themselves. I know it sounds crazy, but
it does sound crazy, and it's exactly what we do. Yeah, it's heartbreaking that we have to.
Yeah, and how many of us are wrapped up in, like you said, in your old life, living the way you were expected to live for the benefit of other people, never really asking who it is that you are. And I think I've done a lot of that as well. A lot of that. So I've got lots of cogs turning in my head about different areas of my life where I still do that, actually.
Yeah, and it's automatic. Also, when we grow in one area, many times just primarily group onto the other areas so that we still feel like we know. Look, we have to evolve. So my version of success 10 years ago is nothing like it was now. That doesn't mean it wasn't right for me then. The relationships I had then were wonderful, and now they're completely different, and they're also wonderful. We judge this good, bad, on, off, and it doesn't make any sense. We don't give ourselves a chance to evolve.
Do you think there's like a pressure to put ourselves in a lane, to put ourselves in a groove and say, this is the way? And actually, and I think, funny enough, where there's overlap between what we do, really what I do when I teach people how to trade and they've mastered the skill set of trading, is it does for them what it did for me, which it opens up doors of what do you actually want your life to look like. Now, the finances aren't a problem. Now, you don't have to be exchanging your time to do the thing of making money to survive and live in whatever way you are living. It lifts the lid on what's possible. And that I find really, really exciting. And that's why I'm passionate about trading, rather what trading does versus sticks and counters and things like that as well.
Of course. And, until someone sees it or understands it, we won't know what either of us are talking about, which is why these conversations are so important. I always say everyone may not be ready to have them, but everyone's ready to listen to them. And, everyone on or whoever listens to this, just think about one area that you think is holding you back in the other areas. So let's say I'm good in business, I'm okay with success, but I have old friendships that don't feel connected and I feel like I have to fake it. Or I have clients that have 2 houses at Christmas time, Lewis. They'll host the family at the smaller house because they're embarrassed to bring their family to the bigger house because they don't fit in their life anymore. We're wired for belonging, but we don't upgrade our belonging in any of our areas. So the lowest area will always bottleneck everything else. You can't have all of this and then hide here. On the other hand, I'm not asking everyone to leap off the building either, but it's just, like you said, turning the cogs and kind of releasing the success switch word. What does success feel like for me in life, in business, in my relationships, in my health, in my body? And we have seasons. I don't believe in balance because then we're waiting for something to fall. But what season are you in? Where is your focus? And how can you bring the most of yourself to it? And then it trickles down success to all the other areas. Like, I promise if you're happy at work, you're happier at home. I promise if you're happier at home, you'll take better care of your body. All of these things. And there's just too much to change at once. I'm not asking you to. I'm asking you to find yourself and let that lead the change. And it always will. I have to wear that outfit to be successful. I got to wait on that cue. Like you said, stay in your lane. We switch to another lane. It's still not our lane. It's just a shorter one. It doesn't make any sense. We lose so much energy.
And I think maybe there's a journey of trying out different lanes to figure out what does fit as well. 100%. And I think I really like what you said before as well, because you're basically giving the permission to explore different boundaries, different identities. And I'm not maybe in a small way, maybe in a big way. And I know you talk a lot about archetypes as well, which is really, really helpful. I want to go back to something you said to kind of expand on it a bit more. But you said sometimes we don't upgrade our belonging. Explain that to us in more detail, please.
So we are wired for belonging and safety. Most of us find that annoying. I don't want to be some primal animal, but apparently we are. So I'll have this big maverick vision for my life, and I will envision things people don't, and I'll see potential in the world where they don't. And then on a Thursday night, if I don't get invited out with my friends, oh my God, they don't love me anymore. I don't fit. So we have this dance, especially creative entrepreneurs or people looking for something else in their life, like trading to expand and open up those opportunities. We still wonder where we are. So the example I always use is, the game of tag. So you can play in the middle, but you want to get back to the wall to make sure you're safe. So we do this dance. I'll go this far, but I've got to make sure I still fit. But then we got to check, do I want to belong where I think I want to belong? I haven't asked myself that question. I have no idea. I just keep running back to the tag wall. And it doesn't make any sense because we're using old paradigms, old identities, old beliefs, old belonging to then stretch ourselves in a world we haven't seen yet. That won't work because if I envision it, it's for me. If I can't let go of where I was, I'm split in two, and the old will always win because it's safety. We're not wired for growth. So if we upgrade our belonging and kind of isolate, do I still fit here? So I'm not asking anyone to cut everyone out of their life, but if you do, call me because I would think it's hilarious. But it's, you know what? Those friends are for this. That's not where I talk about my business. They don't understand what I'm talking about, or they're my old mates from school, or my religious background I still love, and I don't bring all of me there because it doesn't fit. And then I feel like I'm outside a snow globe. Why would I do that to myself? So is where can we find pockets of ourselves to still belong where we belong, and find spaces like this with people like us who want to see the best in you and want to bring out the potential. And we get to find ourselves in all different places. You can belong and grow, but we need to define where what is instead of screwing it up and thinking, oh, if they don't accept me, I can't do this. Don't ask directions for someone who's never been to where you want to go. That's basically what it comes down to.
Yeah, I can imagine, and everyone in the chat just say, yes, amazing, something, just so I know you're actually still there. But I think if people are listening to this, and this is maybe the first time they've even considered this kind of thing or thought about this thing, and it's probably doing some light bulb moments for people in terms of like, oh, that's why I feel uncomfortable now in that situation, or that's why I feel uncomfortable in this situation over here. What is like some really practical ways to allow the new to win? Perfect. Versus falling back into like the old pattern?
Well, Annette, I'm so happy to hear you. Great question. I'm glad you asked it because this is all great theoretical and feels like crap if you hang up from here and be like, okay, so now I can't unsee what she said, but I have no idea what to do. So it's small micro moves. You may not believe me, but I promise every single person on here who's listening to this knows what they want and knows what they don't. They just haven't asked the right question. So if you are willing to ask a different question without having to change anything yet. I am not asking you to make a declaration on LinkedIn about who you are and what you stand for. No manifesto needed. Unless you want one, you can do it quietly. In the quiet of your own home, or take yourself to a coffee shop away from other people who will influence you. Draw a line down a paper and say what is working and what is not working, and be savagely honest with yourself. No one has to see the paper, and it doesn't mean you have to change anything yet. Just be honest. When we're willing to look at what's working and what's not working, I can look at the working list and say, oh God, I only pay attention to that, and I'm ignoring the other parts of my life that I don't know how to deal with. So it's not good or bad. It's what's working, what's not working. What I find interesting is lots of times the things that are working, we think are our strengths. And then we lean really hard on them and they become weaknesses. For example, lots of us like to work. I love to work. Lewis loves to work. If we don't balance ourselves with that and make sure we also take a look at what else we need, our health, our rest, our relationships, our time off, that strength of ours, how good we are at work, becomes the most dangerous thing in our life. So we are not making a pros and cons list of our life. Is where does all my attention go to? What am I not paying attention to? Sometimes we love our relationships so much, we're scared to talk about them. We're scared to have the hard conversation. I don't want to address it. I just want to love them. Then we make it a weakness where it may be a strength if we just tweak something. This isn't about everyone count 1, 2, 3. We're all getting divorced. It's not that, although I've done it and it's amazing when you get out. But maybe it's just one hard conversation. Maybe it's an exploration of a new hobby together. Maybe it's a reconnection with your kids or your partner or your family. Tiny little micro moves, just so you feel like that list actually belongs to you instead of what everyone told me my life was supposed to look like. So just ask some curious questions will help you re-engage on something you may want to put more effort into or take a little less focus on. And that starting point will change your life more than you'd even believe.
I think it is a real brave step, that. And I think having that level of hardcore honesty with yourself is the thing that moves the needle forward. Yeah, I think it's brilliant.
I think when we try to control all the things we don't want to ask ourselves, because like I said, everyone knows this list. I'm not going to look here. I'm not going to look there. It's like we're in a corridor with all the doors closed. When you make this list, even just for yourself, you take some of the pressure off. You take the valve off of success needs to look like this because I'm avoiding the entire right side of my life. Like, no. We can just start to be like, oh, I'm a 6 at that, and I'm a 9 at that. Maybe I want to be a 7 at that and an 8 at that. It's just changing that switchboard. No one's watching. We think everyone's watching. Everyone's filled up with their own crap. I promise you, they don't not paying attention. But if you can start to say, what would it look like if Wednesday looked a little different than Tuesday? You feel freer, with more autonomy, with more sovereignty, and then creative ideas come in, and inspired action and space making of, maybe I don't automatically say yes to everything because I need everyone to like me. Maybe I just need to like me just for a day. And it just loosens the glue on this until I hit this number, and until I hit this number on the scale, or the number in the bank, or the number of friends. What do you mean? We're chasing numbers?
Yeah.
I don't want on my tombstone, she finished her to-do list and everyone else thought she was successful. It probably won't either. That's like, what? Life's too short for that.
I think going back to the writing things down, it reminded me of one of your videos I saw on Instagram the other day, and you said our brains aren't meant to, they're meant to process, they're not meant to store, or something like that.
Yes.
And I think that's why, for me, writing down probably helps so much, because when I'm storing it all in my head,
Yes.
it's like I would describe it as it's loud in my head.
Exactly.
When I write it on paper, it's quiet.
Yeah, because so our brains have two modes. I don't know if this is scientific, this is a Shari theory, which there are a lot of. So we have focus mode, which is when we store, we hold, we gather data, we're in data mode. And then there's diffuse mode, where we take the pressure off and we start to sort through the data. I always use the ridiculous example. You go on a stag do or a hen do, and you don't remember the night before, and everyone stumbles onto the plane. You get home, you open up your suitcase, and there's a red shoe. You don't have a red shoe, Lewis. So you go into the WhatsApp chat and you're like, is this anyone's shoe? We don't do that with our life. Is this anyone's belief I've carried around for 52 years? Anyone? Bueller? Anyone want to claim this? Because I run my life by this, and this pink phone does not belong to me. So when we diffuse and say, okay, here's all the data, what is mine? What is still relevant? What matters right now? Then we can sort through our ideas. We can sort through what's relevant now, what we can pause and put in a folder for later. We give ourselves a chance to process what all of the storing and gathering is doing. Otherwise, we just have busy brains and feel like we're never getting enough done. So it's the dump area. So it's just like, let's unpack, check it out, understand what's there, and then start to believe what's next.
Yeah, I love that busy brain. I love that. I definitely would think that's. I know when I've been in store mode for too long.
Yes.
And that's when I need to go and just write things down. And then if I just spend the morning or an hour even at a coffee shop, and I just think about my life and write things out and actually do journaling. Alan says, is this why they say it's important to journal every day?
100%. It's just clearing out. It's the declutter of all the ideas, especially for creatives. We've got triple time. So my brain will be in the queue in the supermarket, and I have 14 ideas for a video, a new business idea, a recipe idea, and I made a new friend. So then and you think I'm kidding. Lewis knows I'm not. And so I get back in my car thinking I'm feeling creative. I've done absolutely nothing but overwhelm myself. So when we journal, we not only declutter, but we give our ideas space to happen. Creativity, we work for it, not the other way around. So if those ideas fly in and we don't grab them, they go off somewhere else. So we want to be able to be present is I matter in my life, that my ideas have the right to be heard. You have a partner you love, you would never not want to listen to them. Why are we not listening to ourselves? We just think we're all going to store it. narrator says, we don't store it all equally. Not everything can be equally important at all times. So the journaling, and Alan, people do this differently. Some people have structure. Some people have I have notes in my phone. Every night I'll make myself a note so that it doesn't keep me up all night. Even whether I have to remember something, I want to process something, I want to let go of something. It's just creating a new conversation with yourself.
How do we process? So what I mean by that is, okay, so people are, okay, right, I want to journal, I want to get some of this stuff out of my head. Like you said there, you'll give yourself a note about something you maybe want to process. That phrase itself is obviously it's an intentional thing.
Yes.
Intentional thinking time, intentionally working through something that you want to work through in your brain. So what does that process look like? Because how are we intentionally processing through different, maybe a situation that happened, or maybe we're processing an idea that we've had, or we're processing something traumatic that's happened in the day, or whatever it might be. How can we do that practically?
So the great answer to your question is, first we have to find out what we do instead, because this, unfortunately, it should be natural. Someone would teach this. Instead, we all know how to play a recorder, but we don't know how to process our own thoughts. So school did a great job for all of us. What we first have to do is, what do we do instead of processing? So if something happens and I don't want to process on my own, or I haven't learned this skill, what do? I go ask the internet. I go put it in ChatGPT. I go ask the one friend that's not going to be helpful. We dig ourselves deeper into something. We make it a drama. We have it in a group chat. What does everyone think? We actually put more data in instead of taking data out. So the first thing to do is notice, what do you do when you have to process instead of processing? Just to catch a habit and be like, that's when I pick a fight so that I don't have to deal with my own thoughts. Or that's when I numb out in front of Netflix for 3 hours, or I overeat, or I over-exercise. Don't we all wish we had that problem? Or I under-exercise. So find out what you do instead, so you can find those spots and break points at when you need, that would have been great to have been able to sit down with myself. Now, this was not meant to be a pitch, but I will let you know. Lewis, I don't even know if you know this. I actually have a journal coming out in the next couple of months. It's being designed. It's called the Maverick Way, a field guide to coming undone on purpose. And it does exactly this. It is not an empty journal. It is absolutely wonka crazy, every page with a different exercise, because not everyone can sit with an empty notebook and be like, I'm so wise and smart. Personally, you put an empty notebook in front of me and I feel like a narcissist that I'm not. Let's take an hour to think about all the thoughts that I have. Like, what? I'm busy. That feels ridiculous. So what I wanted to do is create a creative way that someone doesn't feel alone in this, to be like, how on earth do I process all of my thoughts? So I made this creative way. Now, I'm not saying you all have to go buy my journal. If you'd like one, you can have one. Separate from that, big piece of paper, voice note on your phone, whatever it is, what we're trying to do with this processing, and it takes time to learn. The first thing to learn is just the declutter. Even if I don't know what to do with my thoughts, I just want to get them out of my head. That alone is a game changer. Don't think you need to know what to do with them, because a lot of us don't. We're not trained in this. So I forget I am trained in this, so I should know what to do. I know what to do with all of your thoughts. My thoughts sometimes are a different story. So think about your best friend or someone in your life you always know how to help. You know you have the skill, and turning it on ourselves is not always easy. So don't think just because you got another pretty notebook, it's going to make this easy. Seeing ourselves objectively is very hard. Then seeing ourselves as this judgmental child who's journaling to just grump about whatever happened in the day also feels very self-indulgent. So a lot of us avoid it. I don't want to look at what I think about all day long. I'm ashamed of some of it. I'm bored of a lot of it. Some of it makes no sense. I don't know how it got in there. So it's not a comfortable place to be. So if we just start with, I'm going to source it somewhere so it doesn't drive me crazy in my head, tick on the first step. The next step is, I'm going to look at that overall list and see if I can find some themes. So instead of getting stuck in the story, let's say I look at 5 days of my journaling, even if it's just lists, and say, what theme keeps coming up? Belonging, overwhelm, boredom, feeling like I'm not listening to myself, feeling out of alignment. So we skip the story and then we go up to the theme. Where does this theme play out in my life? How many times have I done this? All of a sudden, oh my God, I was 5 when I started. I'm now 52. Amazing. So I now spotted a theme that I can work on away from the story. It's not this one's fault and I didn't like the color of my shoes and it was a bad day and I didn't have my coffee. Put it down. It doesn't help you. It keeps you in a cage. If I have a theme and say, I have a theme of not feeling enough. Amazing. Where else is this theme? Oh, crap. It's in my office, so I overmanage my team. It's in my home life because I don't let anyone help and then moan that no one took the rubbish out. It's in my family because I ask everyone for help and then I hide around the holidays. Where are our themes playing out? If we can identify themes, we end up being much kinder to ourselves, because if we have something running, we don't want to keep the show running. You can stop the movie at any time. So process to theme is really the way we disconnect the emotion from it, get objective, and then give ourselves some space to make different decisions. Will I choose it again and again? Probably for a while, but at least I'll know what I'm doing.
It's that identification. Once you identify it, you can actually deal with it.
Exactly. And then I can see it and being like, oh, do I need to pack that for the day, for my day's adventure in my backpack? No, I could leave that one at home till later. I don't need that. I don't have to run the same story to get to safety or to get to the test. I have better conversations. I'm more honest. I feel more free. I say no when I almost said yes. And we give ourselves bandwidth back once we realize this stuff.
Yes, and that brings me back to something I was going to say earlier, but my brain dropped it and now it's picked it back up again. And I was reading an article somewhere, which probably means I was watching a reel on Instagram, and it was talking about something which I've really experienced in my life, where I used to have such high capacity for stress things, decision making, blah, 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 blah. And because I've maintained that high level of capacity being using up that capacity, now my capacity is actually diminished. And the reason I was going to bring up earlier is because you were talking about what was your greatest strength becomes your weakness, and I'm noticing that in my capacity to handle things, just things.
Yeah.
And now I'm having to lower my capacity intentionally to rebuild my capacity again, and I'm noticing that happen.
And that's a huge one, because that's the evolution of yourself that I mean. So just because we have a strength, think it's like a one-time X-ray that you took. It happened once. We can't make it happen again. Like, well, my muscle was like this. Yeah, because you kept your arm like this. I'm not walking around all the time like that. So when we're revving up for survival and thriving in life, we use skills and then we overuse them and the muscles get tired. So what you need now is to understand that got you from A to B, and now you're trying to go to B to C. You need a different tool. So while you've got that muscle built, we've got to find out what the next muscle is. So maybe the next muscle on that example, Louis, is discernment. So not everything needs all of my energy. How can I ask for help, which you've gotten much better at? How can I decide that may not be important just because it's important to someone else? And that's not unkind. It's actually discernment. So I speak a lot on stages and I'm at big events. And what always drove me crazy is I see these headline speakers walk in with their entourage in the side door with their nose up in the air. They don't talk to anyone. Where I go to an event and I'm like Minnie Mouse. Everyone's taking pictures with me. People come to the bathroom with me, which is weird. They don't come in. I don't let them in, but like they'll follow me and I'm like, I just have to pee. Give me a minute. And I was judgmental. I'm like, I don't understand why people think they're so important that they can't say hello to anyone. And then I started speaking at more events. And it's very tiring to be social like that. And it's tiring to take 300 pictures while I feel very honored. So I now mind my time better. So while old me would have judged this, I now get it. Now I'm not going to walk into an entourage and I won't walk in the side door, but I will give myself 20 minutes before and after my speech to just reset myself or make sure that I hydrate. And I'll have a judgment on old me would judge that. But new me has a discernment, is like, you burn out if you don't take care of yourself. Oh, I didn't have that before.
Yeah.
In such excitement in building, I had all the energy in the world and I was revved up on a little bit of rage, a little bit of pride, a little bit of, I'll show you I'm different. And then that settles and is like, okay, this is now where we live. We cannot work off of adrenaline all the time. What is the next level of discernment? And what do I want for myself? Maybe I don't want to do that anymore. Maybe I don't even want to be on stage. We're allowed to change our mind. But when we use our strength to a weakness, we just think the button's broken and we try to fix it. It's like, no, we graduated to the next level of the video.
I think one of the things that's another light bulb moment for me, which I always have every time we talk. But for me with that, and not to make it about me, but here we are. Welcome to my show. But that capacity thing has really bothered me. And what you just said there has made me go, oh, actually, I don't need the same level of capacity I had before. So it's okay that it's diminished or gone down a little bit. Yes, okay, it's probably gone a little bit too diminished. I need a bit more capacity, but I don't need to have the same level of capacity that I had before.
And we think we do, but you don't have that level of business. You don't have that level of relationship. You are a different person. So who does the next level of you get to be with the tools you have and what you know you're capable of? We can cherry pick what works and leave the rest. We do not have to run ourselves ragged or prove I can do it again to myself. Why? Who wins? Nobody.
Yeah. This has been amazing. I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to just say to everybody in the chat, first of all, here is Shari's Instagram. Definitely give her a follow.
Come say hi. I answer all messages. I know I shouldn't, but I do. So come say hi. Let me know what you got out of this. I like meeting new people.
When is the book out? The journal out?
So the book, where are we? End of February. I'm hoping by April it's going to be out.
Amazing to see it, which I'm sure you'll tell us about on Instagram as well.
I will.
I'm just going to open up the floor quickly to any questions that you might have for you. And as people type any questions they might have, there we go. It's a question already. I was going to ask one. Having been in survival mode for so long, I have the same experience, don't have the capacity to keep at that level. How do we get the right help to learn or relearn?
Beautiful question, Lisa. I love it. And as someone who lived in survival mode for a very long time, it took me a long time to even ask that question. So pat yourself on the back, because I thought survival mode we just called it life here. So I just thought that's the way it was supposed to be. So I think it's the dance between what feels good to you and what feels motivating to you. So it's not even relearning, because you can't relearn something in the new you. You've got to find out what you want going forward and then reverse engineer. So if survival mode is very tiring, what would feel good? What would I like to feel instead? Maybe some ease and some flow, maybe some clarity, maybe the ability to have support and find someone who can either help me with the tasks or help me understand myself to then find someone who helps me with the tasks, or what I can even put down. So listen, I'm obviously a big proponent of coaching and mentoring. I do it. I love it. And I also think we don't use our own resources first. No one in the world can tell me to do something, even myself. So I will break every rule. So I have to be wanting the change before going to find the right kind of help. There are lots of wonderful coaches out there, and lots of them will give you their template. I would highly stay away from that. You want to find someone who will help you understand yourself. When you can get to know yourself better and you understand your own map, these answers are much easier to find. We've just how did we end up in survival mode? What does non-survival mode look like? You may not even remember. So how do you want to create that? And then we reverse engineer a plan of what that would look like for you, not for everyone else off of the bookshelf. Let me know if that helps, Lisa. Perfect. Yeah. And Lisa, message me on Instagram. I'm happy to give you a couple of tips, questions to ask yourself to get started anytime. Alan, how do I recharge? I generally fall on the floor prone. And then I'm like, oh, I need a nap. I haven't eaten in 2 days. I'm a real creative, so I can disconnect from my body. I mean, I'm being honest here. People are always like on these things. What are your daily rituals? I'm like, what day are you talking about? Like, I am not one of these people who's going to give you a productivity log. I realize when I'm outside of my body, I need a recharge. So I am on my mat, on the yoga mat. I'm out for a walk, feet in the grass, not because I'm so granola-y, but because my head moves so quickly that I can disconnect. So I drop back in and I shut my mouth, which I know none of you believe that I can. Once in a while, the mouth closes, and I just get back in my body, wiggle my toes in my shoes, get myself grounded, and then my body lets me recharge. It's been a learning, let's just say.
It doesn't look the same for everyone, does it either?
It doesn't look the same for me in a week. It just depends.
Yeah.
There's like a game show in America where it's like, phone a friend, ask the audience. Like, I have a few versions of how do I recharge? Try and fall asleep, go out for a walk, go out and do something fun, read a book, learn something new. It just depends. I've got to have assets before I burn out. So then I'll kind of scan my mental list and be like, what do I need right now? Not just, oh God, I'm going to. That's not helpful.
Yeah. It's a little bit like playing The Sims, isn't it? But with your own self.
Totally.
Like, which of my bars is too low and needs to be worked on? Yeah. Well, Shari, amazing as always. Thank you very, very much for joining
Thank you
us.
for having me. I loved it. And thanks for all the interaction and the beautiful questions. Great crowd, of course. You have the best in Lewis. I had no doubt that he would bring all of this wonderful stuff. Can I recommend any books in relation to mindset and coaching that have inspired you? That's a great question, Alan. I'm going to have a think about that. And Lewis, I'll text you with a few books that I think will be great. This is the hard part is I want to help you and not put you in another queue of this is the way that it looks. So hold on, because I'm going to write a book next year and that'll be the book. But I will give you some different ways to look at this and check in with yourself if it resonates. If it doesn't, pick another book. There are millions of them. I will never give you a 1, 2, 3 step. We dance however we dance.
Amazing. Thank you, Shari. Thank you, everybody.
Everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.